Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, guys, where people think they can do no wrong and that nobody else matters except themselves. Guys, I hope you're having another wonderful day today, and you know the drill. You're about to hear some super entitled stories, so sit back, grab a drink, because we're diving in. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future stories. For some context, in my late teens and early 20s, I ran a free after-school program for kids. The program was for kids ages 8 to 12 whose parents were currently undergoing a messy divorce. We had a sister program next door for parents of the kids. It was part class, part community group, part counseling. With the kids, myself and another volunteer discussed handling anger, prepared them for joint custody, etc., etc. Now, the class was free. Some materials were paid for by the center, and the rest I covered myself. Now, I really liked the class and it gave me a bit of padding on my resume, so I didn't mind buying snacks, coloring materials, and prizes for the kids. At the time, we were a few weeks into the class, and I had 8 kids who were attending. Now, 8 is a great number, because you know how many things come in packs of 8? It meant I bought stuff in those 8 packs so each kid would have something, and I did not waste money on spares. So this afternoon, the kids are coming in, and this parent, who I've never met, with an unknown kid comes by, and sorta drops the kid off without a word to me or her child. Now, it has been a few years, but here's the conversation that I remember. I said, ma'am. She responds, what? I said, hi, I don't think we've met. Your son isn't enrolled in the class currently, and you can't just drop him off with me. She replies, I was told this class is free. I told her it is, but it's not a daycare. You have to enroll your child first at the beginning of the term. I can't just watch any kid who comes by. There's things I need to know like allergies, emergency contacts, and his name. The lady then says, well, I'm here right now. You can ask me right now. I told her I'm sorry, but the class is starting right now. I can't. But you can enroll him in the next term. You can find information on how to do that at this location. The mom then rolls her eyes and says, I have an appointment. Can't you just take him? Now, for the record, the parents were supposed to be enrolled in the class across the hall, not just use us for free daycare. I told her again that I can't. Besides, I didn't know I'd have another student today, so I don't have enough supplies or snacks for him. The mom replies, oh, he doesn't need snacks. He won't mind. Just give him an iPad or something and make sure he doesn't leave the room. It's simple. I tell her, ma'am, of course he's gonna mind. All the kids are eating Nutella snack packs and Capri Suns, and the other kids have workbooks and he doesn't. It's not fair to him. Besides, it's not really safe for me to watch a child that I have no information for, so you can sign him up for next term. The mom then gets all huffy and says, fine. She then grabs her kid and storms off, or so I thought. A few minutes later, I'm working with the kids and the other volunteers setting up, and I see the door open. The same kid as before is shoved in, and the door slams. The volunteer and I share a what the heck look, and I open the door and look out, and the mom is booking it down the hallway. The kid tells me his mom's gonna be back in a few hours. And this is when I book it out of the class and run after her. The class is only half an hour long. There's no way anybody's watching her son for a few hours. So I'm running after her, shouting, ma'am, if you don't come back and get your son, I will call the police. He's not gonna be here when you're back. The mom finally stops, sighs, turns around, and pegs me with a glare. She then says, you are being so inflexible. This is terrible customer service. What kind of daycare are you? I tell her, you're not a customer. Please take your son, and I'm not a daycare. The mom grabs her kid's hand and starts storming off, yelling, I can't believe you'd call the police on a child. I'm gonna tell your boss about how horrible you're being to me and my son. To this day, I wonder if she even attempted to talk to my boss about my behavior, or imagining the look on her face when she found out the boss of the program was me. OP should have seriously fired back with, ma'am, I'm not calling the police on your child, I'm calling the police on you. But seriously though, what kind of parent just decides to leave their kids with a complete total stranger so they can run errands for a few hours? I love this person's comment right here. Kids aren't human beings to a Karen, they're just props. I lived with an entitled roommate and her brother for a year. Well, almost a year before I was kicked out. So let me set this up a bit. She's disabled with a chronic autoimmune disease. She's on disability and she doesn't work. Her brother hasn't worked a job forever, as far as I'm aware, so he's on welfare. He was a nomad for 9 years and came to live with his sister when she was diagnosed, about a year before I met them and moved in. For what it's worth, I work full-time. Now, we got along quite well, and it didn't bother me that they would take my food, like coffee, pasta, butter, milk, eggs, cheese, you name it. Or that I was often asked to take care of the dishes, even though 80% of them were hers and her brother's, not mine. I felt for her, so I was fine with helping them out. Now, the problem was that I was happy. I was working hard, I was making money, I was writing music, and starting a new romantic relationship with an old friend. She wasn't happy. I would often give her gifts and food for friendship, but that wasn't enough to counter her jealousy, and I guess something just snapped. So I came home on March 20th, and before the door had even closed behind me, she said, "OP, you need to move out." I asked her why. She told me, "You just do. This is my house." Now, we all split rent, and she didn't own it. I also want to note that the house we rent only had 2 bedrooms. Me and her had our own rooms, while her brother had the living room. She then said, "My brother works hard, and he deserves his own room, so you need to figure something out." Now, I was mad, and I wanted to get back at them. Now, I knew she expected me to stay for April. She and her brother would really have to squeeze their funds to make it work to pay the upcoming full rent. But was I about to stay in the home for 5.5 grueling weeks with someone who had randomly turned on me, who kicked me out of my home, and in retrospect, guilted me into giving them household help and free food? I don't think so. I applied for 30 houses that day alone. By the weekend, I had signed a new lease. If you ask me to get out, no problem. I'll be out ASAP. So I get the security deposit back from my landlord, who passed that info on to my roommate. She then storms into the kitchen and says, "So, you just got your security deposit? Do you have somewhere else to live?" I told her, "Yeah, I just signed a new lease yesterday. I have arrangements to move all my stuff 2 days from now." She then says, "So, you're not paying for April rent?" I said, "Nope." And that was the last time we talked. She storms out of the room, said a few choice words about me to her brother, and slammed the front door. I almost feel like she expected me to hand her $800 gift wrapped, and still get out of her space. I didn't stay in my room ever again. I moved out quickly and quietly and haven't heard from her since. My friends, you know what they say, misery truly loves company. She couldn't stand the thought of OP living a happier life than she did, so she had to give her a nice ultimatum that blew up in her face. Guys, I bet she was expecting OP to panic, have trouble finding a new place to live, and end up caving and staying and sleeping in the living room while her brother takes OP's bedroom. I bet that was her crafty master plan. I work in an office building with about 3 dozen companies operating on the premises, and because of the odd layout of the building, we have 6 different parking lots. I prefer using the hidden lot. That requires you to drive through one of the indoor lots to reach. It's harder to find and is usually less busy than some of the other lots. Not to mention that the door into the building from that lot is right next to my office, so it's convenient in every way for me personally. Today, it was raining cats and dogs when I arrived at the office. For some reason, my normal lot was unusually full. However, someone pulled out of a prime space just as I arrived, giving me a much shorter walk through the wetness to reach the door. I exchange polite nods with the guy leaving, then pull in to take the now empty spot. As I'm getting out of my car and grabbing my laptop bag, I hear some distant car horn honking, but I think nothing of it since it's practically on the other side of the lot. When I turn around to head inside, Karen rolls up in an oversized SUV and slides to a stop on the wet pavement between me and the building, splashing me with a bit of puddle in the process. She then says, "That spot wasn't for you." I said, "Excuse me? That parking spot, I was waiting for it and you stole it from me." Now at this point I'm irritated. I told her I didn't see you waiting for it. Where were you? The highway off-ramp? Now, she didn't like that I was being smart with her, and she says, "Listen, I've been looking for a parking spot for 20 minutes, and when one comes open, it's for the first person waiting." At this point, I look up and can see a few empty spaces that she had ignored to come over and harass me about taking her space. I gestured to the few parking spots and said, "Hey, there's plenty of parking spots over there that were open before I even got here. Take your pick." She then said, "No, I want that spot. I usually park here. You need to move now." I asked her, "Why on earth do you think you have to have this spot?" Karen then gestures to the back seat saying, "So my baby doesn't get wet walking from all the way over there." I looked in the back seat and the kid looking back at me was easily 10 to 12 years old. Also, over there could not have been more than 50 feet further to walk in the rain. I told her he'll be fine, and anyway, your car wouldn't fit in this compact spot. I then move aside and point so she can read the 6-inch tall letters marking the spot as smaller than average. I tell her if you go around that side of the building, there's another lot that isn't compact spaces. So Karen then says, "Are you gonna move or not? You should go park there. You look like you can use the extra exercise anyways." Now me, already cranky because I haven't eaten yet, and now pissed that this orangutan in lipstick is talking to me this way, said, "Well, I'm definitely not moving for you now. Have fun walking in the rain, and I hope you get struck by lightning." I quickly walked away while this charming example of humanity hurled profanities after me. Now, admittedly, about 15 minutes later, once I was settled at my desk, I started to feel really bad that I told this woman that I hope she gets struck by lightning. Now, I continued to feel bad for about 5 minutes, when the sound of a car alarm caused me to go to the window. The woman had parked somewhere, gotten out of the car, and now she was keying the hell out of my driver's side door. I took a quick picture and immediately called building security to tell them what was going on. So guess who got arrested for destruction of property and assault? Oh right, the assault is from her spitting on the security guard, who went to confront her. Everything that went down from beginning to end was practically right under a security camera, so it got a good look at her, her kid, and her car, including license plate. So there's no way she's getting away with it. And since the slur she etched into my car is homophobic, she might also get charged with hate crimes. Guys, I'm speechless. How the heck did this woman think it was a good idea to do this? Great example to set for your son, ma'am. Yelling at someone for stealing a parking spot that you wanted, and then keying the person's car. Someone give this lady the Mom of the Year award, because she definitely deserves it. Now, this all happened around 10 years ago, and it takes place over the course of the absolute worst months of my life. I had just turned 18 at the time, and thanks to my mom's gambling addiction, we lost the house that I'd lived in my entire life. Now, almost right after we lost the house, a family friend offered to let us stay at their house with their family, since her and her husband had a few extra rooms. We moved into their very large house, and at first, things were great. The family consisted of the parents and their son, who was the same age as me. All of them were understanding and nice at first, offering to let me and my mom stay for as long as it would take for us to get back on our feet. Now, the mom even got me my first job working as a volunteer at a bingo hall. It was all under the table kind of money, but I didn't care since it was my money that my mom couldn't and wouldn't provide me. Now, my mom and the parents have been family friends for a very long time, and they are absolutely enamored with the idea of me and their son getting together, and have been ever since we were little. They constantly make comments like, "Look at that beautiful couple. You two look so great together," or "We'll give you lovebirds some privacy," whenever we were in the same place together. Despite me stating several times that I didn't like him that way, they were determined to try to get us to work, like some kind of arranged marriage. Now, I think that really fed into the guy's ego, because about a month into my stay, that's when the first incident happened. We were walking down the hall when he smacked my butt out of nowhere. I really freaked out and went off on him, yelling, cursing, and giving him a few shoves. Our parents came upstairs to see what the yelling was about, and we ended up getting separated. I tell my mom what happened, and she responds by telling me, "Ugh, it wasn't a big deal," and to stop rocking the boat and causing trouble while we lived there. Now, the kid eventually gives some half-assed apology to me at dinner, and his dad made some joke about how he's relieved that his boy's finally taking an interest in girls, since they were starting to think he was gay. Things proceed to escalate from there. Any chance he got, he would make lewd comments or find some way to touch me. Every time I went to his parents and told them it bothered me, it was always the same thing. They would say, "Oh, you know, boys will be boys," or "Probably didn't mean it that way. You should give him a chance." On one occasion, the dad told me that, quote, "I should be flattered that his son finds me attractive." My deadbeat mom was content on not doing anything and enjoying the freeloading that got to feed her addiction too much, and telling me to, quote, "Stop playing hard to get and just let him have it." So one day, as I'm sitting on the couch, he tried to pull my shirt down. I yelled at him saying, "I'm sick and tired of you doing this. Stop it." But he gave me the most terrifying glare and told me, "Shut up. You live in my house. I do what I want." After that, I was so terrified of being alone with him that I would stay after school for as long as I could until I was asked to leave. If I was home, I would just hide in my room and would not come out until I knew that other people were around. So fast forward a few months and I'm told, not asked, that I'm going with the guy as his date to senior prom, which is in a week. Both parents were super excited and telling me that we'll have the whole house to ourselves that night after we come back from the dance. Now, I very quickly shut that down and tell them that I'm not gonna go with him because I don't like him, and the parents spend the rest of the day doing everything they can to compel me. First, they try telling me that money is not an issue, how they'll pay for my dress and my ticket. When that doesn't work, they try to guilt trip me, telling me how they ask for so little, and that this is the least I can do for living here for free, and how much their son would love it. Finally, my mom eventually hears about it after she comes home from the casino, after a long day of gambling, and she's pissed. She tells me how I need to go, how it's such a big opportunity for the both of us, and how I need to tell the parents that I changed my mind. I refuse, and the day after her son's prom is over, his parents sit me down with my mom for a talk. They start implementing new rules about how they now expect us to pitch in for amenities, how we're expected to pay for food, and how they're gonna start charging us rent, all because I refused to date their son. Now, before all this, they were very adamant about us not paying for anything and wanting us to save money to get back on our feet. Even without my mom spending half or all of her paychecks at the casino, there was no way for us to afford what they were asking. And they gave us a month to find our own place and to move out. We ended up moving to live in a really sketchy neighborhood with some guy my mom was dating who she'd met at the casino. My mom blames me for the entire thing, saying I blew a golden opportunity for the both of us. She also said how I basically threw away a great future that was all laid out for me and that I could have married into a rich family, but I blew it because, quote, I would not dance and put out. A few months later, I graduated, but my mom did not show up at the ceremony. I come back to the house and all of my stuff is sitting on the curb next to the trash and had been thoroughly picked through. I found out my key doesn't work anymore and nobody's picking up the phone. I end up waiting till about 3 in the morning for them to come back from the casino, and my mom tells me in so many words that I'm on my own now, that I'm no longer her daughter. Nothing I say changes her mind, and I eventually pack what little stuff I have into my car. I spent the next month or two couch surfing and sleeping in my car, while trying to pick up as many shifts as I could at work. Eventually, I managed to save up enough money to move to my first apartment with a roommate. I haven't spoken to my mom or the other family in years, but recently, my mom left me a voicemail asking if we could talk, since she did not like the way we left things and would like to work things out. Since then, she's been blowing up my phone every day. Guys, I'm speechless. OP's mom is a freaking disgusting, despicable, and selfish human being. And OP definitely needs to change her phone number and pretty much delete that woman from her life. The fact that she hasn't spoken to mom in years and recently got a voicemail asking if they could talk, the mom's definitely reaching out to get something from her. I personally think the mom's life is falling apart, she has nowhere to go, and she's reaching out to OP for some help. And by help, I mean money. She needs money to feed her gambling addiction. But you know what? Too bad, Mom. You disowned me. Guys, and that brings us to another end of our / entitled people. We survived another episode, and thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me and listening to these wild stories. If you missed the last episode of our / entitled people, I will link it right here. OP's friend steals her identity and commits crimes, guys, and gets mad. She gets mad when OP reports her to the police. Ain't that something? Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.